Hello, and welcome to another edition of Collegiate Tricks of the Trade. As always, I am your host, Academic Andrew, and I wanted to sit down and share with you some knowledge as well as some of the experiences that I have countered along the way throughout both my undergraduate as well as my current ongoing graduate educational experience. It is my hope that by sharing with you some of this information, I can hopefully help one or two of you out there who are also currently working on your educational endeavors as well. So today, I wanted to spend some time talking about a journal that I have been doing a lot of reading on this semester called the Journal of Multilingual and Multicultural Development. Now, as I will discuss here in just a couple of minutes, this is a rather unique journal that differs a lot from some of the other academic journals that's available out there. But before I do that, I wanted to go ahead and let anyone know who, if you end up watching the video and you actually really enjoy it and you would like to do some reading from the Journal of Multilingual and Multicultural Development, you can actually access this journal through Taylor and Francis Online database. So hit up your institution. If you have Taylor and Francis Online, you should be able to locate it rather easily. The journal is also available through the browsing app as well, just as an FYI. It's available through browsing through your tablet as well as your mobile device. Now, the journal itself, as you can see, is rather long-standing. So it actually got started back in 1980, and it has officially gone into its 35th year of publication this current year. In terms of publication, it is actually published 6 times a year, and it's scheduled for February, April, June, August, October, as well as December. So the most recent issue was back in February. At the time of this recording, we're currently waiting for the next issue to come out, as it is currently early April up here in not so sunny Anchorage, Alaska, at least today anyway. In terms of circulation, it's circulated to about 850 folks. Now, the reason why I said that this is a rather unique journal, and I think it's really cool, is it's a very cross-disciplinary nature for this journal. So I was actually introduced to this journal through my enrollments in a sociolinguistics class this semester. And linguistics is by and large probably the discipline that comes up the most frequently throughout this journal in regards to the study of language, and particularly the study of language for multilingual as well as students and individuals alike from a multicultural background. However, in addition to linguistics, the journal, as they write on their homepage, is concerned with macro level coverage of topics in the sociology and social psychology of language, and in language and cultural politics. Now, that cultural politics is definitely a big theme that comes up throughout this journal. There are a lot of articles that deal with political components in regards to language as well as students from a multicultural and individuals from a multicultural and multilingual background. The journal welcomes submissions on many of the broad themes below. Now, I'm not going to go over all of these, but some of the themes that I have noticed pop up issue after issue definitely includes language learning, bilingual and multilingual accommodations, comes up very frequently throughout these issues. The bilingual and multilingual accommodations is a big one as well, because a lot of the articles in these issues look specifically at different study and language practices of different countries all across the world, and how different countries rather approach bilingual education and multilingual education to better suit their individual and student needs. Okay. Beyond that, collective identity, minority group dynamics, and endangered languages comes up frequently as well. In fact, the most recent issue actually has a very cool article that focuses on language preservation through the social media platform, Facebook. It's actually this article right here. I would recommend checking it out should your time permit. But it's titled Language Revitalization from the Ground Up, Promoting Yucatec Maya on Facebook. Now, Yucatec Maya is a language that's been kind of on its way out, according to this article, for a while now. However, the author, Joseph Crew, did a study on this relatively small group of students of about 30 students who are trying to revitalize the language through their practice on Facebook and social media, and they invite their friends to participate in using the language in an effort to try to bring it back. I talked a little bit about the diversity of the journal earlier in terms of the themes. Another thing that I kind of like about this journal is the editorial board and its diversity. So the editor of this journal is a gentleman in the name of John Edwards from the Department of Psychology from St. Francis Xavier over in Nova Scotia. However, the editorial board contains members from the countries of Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, of course the UK, us Yankees here in the USA, Morocco, Norway, Spain, Switzerland, New Zealand, and Hong Kong, and so on and so forth, as well as South Africa. Now, it's not a perfect mix of diversity, obviously. I would love to see more countries, especially from the continents of South America as well as Africa, but it is nice to see the diversity that they do have on the board, even though it could be better for sure. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the submission process. Now, they openly ask for individuals to submit for this journal. Over here on the side, they include instructions here, which I'll review in just a moment, but the submission process seems to be pretty easy. You click the link right here, which takes you to this page called Scholar One Manuscripts. You create an account. It's rather quick. And then from here you can click Author Center, and that will take you to the page where you can actually submit a manuscript. Now, in terms of their manuscript instructions, they do have actually quite a few instructions for individuals interested in submitting. So their manuscripts are not to exceed 7,000 words, including tables and captions. Now, that latter part of that sentence is really important because the majority of the articles in this journal are actually studies in their research findings. So I've got another journal article down here primed, which shows you an example of this. So this is an article that discusses foreign accents and attitudes towards those accents for adult multilingual language users. So if I scroll down here, and I actually provided a presentation on this article for that linguistics class, actually. You'll see in here that it includes an assortment of graphs and figures and so forth. And this is definitely not an anomaly for this journal. A lot of these articles will either have images or graphics of some kinds, or more often than not, graphs, because it is dealing with data as well as presentation of data. Now, other guidelines that they ask that you adhere to is including an abstract of 200 words. And they also ask that you submit 4 to 6 keywords for search engine optimization SEO purposes to make the article more searchable. Beyond that, some other style points, they ask that you adhere to British English spelling and punctuation. They ask that you use single quotation marks. They ask that you spell out numbers. And then they also ask that you be rather light with using hyphens. And they indicate here that hyphens should be used sparingly, which I thought was kind of interesting. Also, going back to the MLA International Bibliography, they indicate here that they get about 80 articles submitted per year, and of those 80, it looks like about 36 articles are actually published of those 80 each year. So, just giving a little bit of an idea in terms of the difficulty of being published. Now, the last area that I wanted to talk about is actually the journal itself, right? And the actual articles. So, as you go down, one of my favorite things about this journal is pulling it up right here. So, this is a list of all the issues and all of the volumes, rather. Now, back in 2011, the Journal of Multilingual and Multicultural Development started doing something new. And that is, in previous issues before then, I kind of discussed a little bit some of the broad themes that are available throughout the journal. And in fact, when you pull up an issue, there will often be articles that are completely different from one another, such is the case here. This article is Minority Languages and Performative Genres, the case of Irish language stand-up comedy. The next immediate article following that is Bilingual Toddlers Reap the Language They Sow, Ethnic Minority Toddlers Child Care, Attendance Increases Maternal Host Language Use. So in regards to minority languages and Irish language stand-up comedy compared to toddler language use, definitely not two articles that are in much relation to one another. However, back in 2011, the journal started doing what they call special issues, and that is when they focus on one central theme that is devoted for that one particular issue. So this very first special issue was actually introduced in 2011, and my favorite special issue is actually the one that they put out at the beginning of 2014, titled Hot and Cold Ethnicities in Post-Soviet Space. Now, this was actually a really fascinating issue for me, because it talks a lot about the collapse of the USSR and how the countries that were associated with the USSR have gone about in terms of the further development of identity given the collapse of that Soviet space. So it discusses the difference between hot and cold ethnicities, and basically a cold ethnicity is an ethnicity that no longer feels emotional connection with that USSR identity. Meanwhile, hot ethnicity still feels that emotional connection of that sort of communal identity. And one of the reasons why this was so fascinating to me is it actually came out at the very beginning of 2014, which was at the very same time that all the violence broke out in Ukraine over Crimea. And a lot of these issues sort of explored in this issue, dealing with the clashing of these different hot and cold ethnicities, reminded me very much of that, of these two sides conflicting between the pro-Russian separatists as well as the Ukrainians. So the journal is very, very good about introducing central topics and their special issues, as well as timely and contemporary topics as well. So that is my review for the Journal of Multilingual and Multicultural Development. I hope you enjoyed it, and I wish you all success. Thank you.